If you're looking to start a podcast, what if I told you that your show could outperform 95% of all podcasts on Apple Podcasts with just a little effort and planning? You think that's impossible, right? Not so. In this video, I'm going to reveal the proven strategies to help you do just that. So if you're a beginner podcaster or you just want to learn how to start a podcast, this is the ultimate guide to creating a successful show. We'll teach you everything you need to know, from the best podcast gear and recording equipment to even some of the most common editing tips. Let's get that first episode launched.
Here we go! We've got an awesome resource for you. Listed in the description is our podcast blueprint worksheet. It's a step-by-step guide packed with valuable information on how to pick your podcast name, podcast topics, format, episode length, and all sorts of essential tips for starting a new podcast. And remember, talk, take action, learn, and keep going. It's all about consistency, not perfection. Now, let's jump right into the first tip, selecting your podcast microphone. For an audio-first podcast, your microphone is the key to your success. And that's why most podcasters highly recommend the Samson Q2U. It's a USB microphone, meaning you can plug it into your computer and you're good to go. It's affordable, easy to use, and it's got everything you need to make your voice sound amazing. And don't just take my word for it. Amber Francesca, one of the UK's most successful podcasters, swears by the Samson Q2U. If you do decide to level up, we recommend the Shure MV7, the SM7B, or the Earthworks Ethos. These are all top rated for quality and performance. But whichever you choose, all of these mics are suitable to record a quality podcast. The next step is deciding whether you're going to record remotely or in person. Remote and in-person recording both have their benefits and drawbacks. When you record remotely, you can invite guests from anywhere, but it can be tricky to maintain audio quality. When you record in person, it can be more fun, but sometimes you can't invite everyone you want if they live far away. For our own podcast, Buzzcast, we use Riverside.fm and we love it. It's easy to set up, saves high-quality audio files to the cloud, and you can access it whenever you need to. And if you're recording in person with guests, we suggest using the Samson Q2U with an audio interface like the Scarlett 2i2. It lets you record each guest on a separate track, which makes it easier to edit later on. And that brings us to the next important thing you'll need: headphones. Headphones are a crucial part of your podcast setup. They help you self-monitor your audio and your guests, eliminate mic bleed, and any background noise that might mess up your recording. If you're in the market for a new pair, we recommend the Audio-Technica M20X. These headphones are noise isolating and incredibly comfortable for extended wear. And that's pretty much it for your startup podcast equipment, which leads us to how to prep for your first podcast episode. Rambling is one of the most common mistakes new podcasters make, and it can ruin the quality of your show. That's why it's so important to create an episode outline before you start recording. Just take a few minutes to jot down bullet points that will help you stay on track. It might seem like a simple step, but it will dramatically improve the flow of your show and help you create a great episode. Here's a structure you can use to get started. Begin with a brief 30-second introduction. Introduce yourself and your podcast and provide a summary of what you'll be discussing in the episode. Then dive into your first topic. Keep your listeners engaged by addressing any challenges or controversies related to the topic and provide actionable tips and advice. Repeat as necessary for additional topics in the episode. Finally, thank your listeners for tuning in. Be sure to encourage feedback and comments and tease your next episode to keep your listeners coming back for more. Then sign off and end the show on a high note. This podcast outline will be available in the worksheet to help you construct the first episode. But before you hit the record button, you'll want to make sure you found the perfect recording space in your home. This could be your bedroom, closet, or even your dining room. Pick an area free from outside noise and away from the air conditioning units. You can add items like rugs, carpets, and curtains to help reduce background noise and echo. Once you find the perfect place to record, set up your equipment. Connect your microphone to your computer or audio recording device, and make sure to select the correct audio input in your recording software. To ensure that everything is working correctly, record a 30-second snippet to check that the sound levels are correct and that all the inputs are working as they should. Now, we're going to show you how to do a sample recording using GarageBand. GarageBand is a free recording and editing software that comes pre-installed on most Apple devices. For Windows users, we recommend using Audacity. Audacity is also a free program that allows you to record, edit, and export episodes. We've provided in-depth video tutorials for both GarageBand and Audacity in the worksheet below. But for now, let's jump into GarageBand to record a sample intro and then go over the most common edits you'll make in a podcast episode. Before you start recording, make sure that your microphone is selected as the input device. you'll want to hit the red record button at the top of the screen. Now, let's record a sample intro for my podcast called Ladies Who Launch, Inspiring Stories of Women in Podcasting. Welcome to Ladies Who Launch, the podcast that celebrates successful women in the podcasting industry. I'm your host, Jalon Martz, and in each episode, we'll explore the journey of these women, from the initial idea to the actual launch and everything in between. So if you're looking for inspiration and tips to launch, hold on, I don't like that sentence, I'm gonna redo it. So if you're looking for inspiration to launch your own show, you've come to the right place. I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and please rate and review. So I just stopped the recording simply by hitting the spacebar. All right, let's go through some common edits. First, we're gonna edit out that sentence. Place the playhead right before the sentence that needs to be cut. Right-click and select Split at Playhead. This creates a cut in the audio. Repeat the same process at the end of the section you want to delete. Select the clip and go to the Edit menu at the top and select Delete and Move. This deletes and automatically moves the audio over to replace the empty space. So that's how you cut certain parts that you don't want to include in your episode. Next, let's discuss how to import intro music. Right-click and create a new audio track. Then right-click on the track and choose Add an audio file. After selecting the intro music file you want to use, position it where you want. Press A on your keyboard and highlight the track. A yellow bar will appear. Click a point in the audio where you want to create a fade. You will see a dot appear, which allows you to adjust the volume. Move the selection up and down to make a nice transition. And finally, let's export our audio file. For the highest quality, we recommend exporting as a WAV. If a WAV file isn't an option, export as an MP3. Of course, this was just a snippet of the editing process, but as you progress and edit more podcast episodes, it'll get more familiar to you. So we've completed a sample recording. Now let's talk about where to find music for your intro and your outro. Music sets the tone and mood for your show and enhances the overall production value. It can also help with transitions between segments, making your show more enjoyable for listeners. But before you go ahead and pick any music, you need to double check the licensing requirements. Thankfully, there are several music sites out there like Soundstripe, Audio Jungle, and Free Music Archive that offer both licensed and royalty-free music that you can use in your podcast. And to make things easier for you, we've included links to these in the podcast blueprint worksheet. Now, let's discuss how to upload your first episode to Buzzsprout. I need to set up my new podcast on Buzzsprout. Once I enter my first name and email, I select I'm a new podcaster. For my podcast title, I put in Ladies Who Launch. I also wrote a brief description of my podcast. I select Done, and now I'm going to head to my email to confirm my email address. Next, I'm going to tap the Podcast Info tab to fill in the rest of my podcast information. Under General Info, my podcast title and description are copied over. I need to upload my podcast artwork, which I've already created. I'm going to select Business Entrepreneurship as my podcast category, English for Language, and Eastern Time Zone. My artist name is Jalon, and my podcast doesn't contain any explicit content, so we'll just leave that unchecked. Then I tap Save Podcast Info. Now, we're going to head back to the Episodes tab and upload a new episode. We're going to drag and drop our recording into the upload box. For the episode title, we're going to put Episode 1, The Rise of Women in Podcasting. I'll add in the episode description. And my podcast artwork automatically copied over, so that's done. We don't have any explicit content, so we're going to leave that unchecked. And then once everything looks good, we're going to hit Publish Immediately. I love this confetti. So our episode is published and now it's live on Buzzsprout. The next thing we need to do is submit our podcast to directories. We're going to head over to the Directories tab. And what's cool about Buzzsprout is you get the exact steps to submit. So let's do Spotify first. Now we're going to tap Submit Your Podcast to Spotify. That was pretty easy. We'll guide you every step of the way for any directory you want to list your podcast in. Congratulate yourself for uploading your first episode. 95% of shows haven't published an episode in the last week. So if you want to do better than over 95% of all shows in Apple Podcasts, the answer is simple. Be consistent by publishing one episode per week. Join groups dedicated to podcasting that will help you stay motivated and provide you with the insight you need to keep moving forward. Our Buzzsprout Facebook community is a fantastic resource for beginners. Don't forget to download our podcast blueprint worksheet to help you get started. We've helped over 300,000 people start a podcast. So if you have a question, feel free to drop them in the comments. We love hearing from our community and seeing everyone support each other. Until next time, keep podcasting.